Well, thank you so much for joining us here at Wales Airshow at home, and what a terrific day we've been having. But no airshow is complete without the iconic team, of course, the best of British, born and bred at home, the very best of air displays, the Red Arrows. And joining us today, it's our great pleasure to have squadron leader Steve Morris, Red 9. Steve, good afternoon to you and welcome.
Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today. Clearly, we're very, very sorry that we can't be doing the air show, but to get this opportunity to speak to you all is absolutely fantastic.
Steve, this would have been your 6th year on the team. Split, you've had the great opportunity of being invited back, having already done 4 years. Is this becoming a standard sort of format? It must be very, very different from frontline operational service.
Yeah, so my first tour was from 2012 to 2016 with the Red Arrows and served during the display seasons of 13 through to 16. So 4 years, which is a little bit unusual. Normally it's 3, but I got asked if I would do an extra year. And since then, we have seen 1 or 2 people actually do the 4th year. It reduces the training amount on the squadron. And it also means that you don't have to select from that many, you don't select that many people to join the team. So it can help the team out. It is hard work because, as you point out, it is very different to a frontline squadron. So whilst on a frontline squadron, you might go away on ops for 3-4 months and then come back and it be much more stable. With the Red Arrows, you've got the winter training, which is very busy, tiring Monday through to Friday. And then when the season starts, ordinarily, you're away 5 days a week. Your weekends tend to be Mondays and Tuesdays. And then not to mention as well, if big tours happen, like last year, going to North America, that will take you away for about 3 months. So it is a very busy period.
Yeah, it must be particularly difficult for family life, let alone anything else.
Yeah, so my wife Hannah she's very understanding. She's in the military as well, so she's actually on maternity leave right now. We had twins 11 months ago, so she's taken an extended leave period so she can look after the baby. So I'm getting to see an awful lot of them at the moment. But certainly my first tour on the Reds, she would be working Monday through to Friday. I'd get back from an air show. So let's use Swansea as an example. Get back late Sunday night or early Monday morning, and then have Monday and Tuesday off. And Hannah would be at work. So whilst you are at home, the quality time you get together is sometimes takes a hit.
Well, we very much appreciate the commitment you've made, not just to the military and the Royal Air Force, but of course to the Red Arrows. And we know how demanding that is, even if occasionally you get some enjoyable trips like North America. It must have been fantastic. Moving on, you've flown some really outstanding aircraft already. I mean, the Harrier, I would have loved to have flown. It is an iconic British invention and, top of the tree in terms of pilot agility and complexity. How does flying the Hawk, but in a display and in a team that's so close together, how different is that? How do you all manage to work and get on so well together? It must be quite tough at times.
Yeah, it is very tough. There's no two ways about that. I think firstly, flying the Hawk it's an exhilarating experience. Whilst it is 40 years old, it's a very, very agile aeroplane. It's hugely reliable. If you had a car that was 40 years old that was as reliable as this, then you'd be very, very pleased. The question about how you get on as a team, particularly when times are challenging, that really is down to the whole selection process. So on the Reds, we're hugely fortunate that we get to interview and see every potential candidate for a week-long period, normally out in Greece or Cyprus. The shortlisted candidates will come and spend a week with us, and we expose them to the pressures of being on the team. So they will become tired. You fly with them 3 times a day, 5 times that week. There's functions at the weekend, because that's what, as Red Arrows, we do. We go to embassies, we're ambassadors for the UK and the armed forces. So we get to see the candidates and then choose the best 2 or 3 that are most suited to the team. So, and it's exactly for those reasons that our selection process, I think, works so well, so that when times do get hard, you pull together as a team, and the output, as you all know, is what I think is world class.
I think you've hit it right on the button there, world class. And with all that peer selection, it's great to constantly be able to breed what we need to keep the team going. It's fantastic news indeed. Now, when you're not displaying, just out of interest, what do you get up to in your spare time?
I like to take part in all sports. I'm very, very keen at swimming. It's something that I did from a young age. Obviously not doing that much at the moment with all swimming pools being closed and gyms being closed, but I do like to keep myself fit. And yeah, Heather and I have got 11-month-old twins, so they are keeping me very busy at the moment.
Great, I'm sure they are. Now, moving on to where we're displaying today, in that wonderful Swansea Bay, on behalf of the Wales Airshow, you hear those magic words. They come into Perty's headset. Red Arrows, clear display. Tell us, what's it like to be part of that team and your memories of displaying in the Wales Airshow?
It's always very special. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now, and I think for every single Airshow, you do the brief, you get yourself into that zone, like a professional sportsman or sportswoman preparing for a huge game. And Swansea is always very special. We position crowd rear as we often do at most air shows, and clearly it is very hilly, and sometimes there'll be challenges with the weather. I remember last year we did a rolling show and a full show, but we'd be speaking to Cardiff on one of the radios, because they're giving us our traffic information, and then we're speaking to Red 10, who's at the show, and once he says you're cleared display, and yeah, you get those goosebumps, that adrenaline, and Perty will call for the colour to go on crowd rear, and call running in for the show and starting, whether that be full, flat or rolling, and then just straight away. I mean, the perfect days are the ones where you go straight into a loop from 380 knots, it's about 440 miles an hour, and you get that glimpse of that beautiful bay and all the people as you go over the top of the loop, and then you're then in the zone for displaying to the outstanding public that we always have at Swansea.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Now, all of the positions in the Reds not only have functional air display roles, but also have other duties as well. Can you just talk us through both your flying and your ground roles as Red 9?
Yeah, sure. So as Red 9, I'm just behind Red 3 in the diamond. So flying wise, we're all together during the first half of the display, so all 9 aircraft, and then in the second half you'll see Enid will separate, so the front 5, and then Chippo, which are the rear section, the more experienced guys. So part of that 4 is you've got the synchro pair, so Reds 6 and 7. So Reds 8 and 9 form the other 2 of the rear section, and we will bounce between doing passes with the synchro pair, and then also rejoining Enid, and it's called Enid Plus. So then we will be with Enid and 8 and 9. So flying wise, that's my role. I'm executive officer on the Red Arrow. So that means effectively second in command behind Perty. Now I can't lead the team, but I do take an awful lot of administrative roles on the ground. That mean that Perty's life is, he can concentrate purely on the leadership of the team. And then I will be dealing with things such as, making sure that airports know what time we're arriving. It's often reactive stuff. So if things haven't gone quite according to plan, and using last Thursday as a perfect example, the weather, it's often the British weather that throws us up the challenge. So maybe we're running behind schedule, but clearly we can't because we're the Red Arrow. So we have to be there on time. So it might mean that the engineers have to turn the aeroplanes a little bit quicker because we become time compressed. So that is my biggest role on the ground, but I'm also a squadron qualified flying instructor as well. So I'll often fly with the guys, particularly in the early days of their Red Arrows career, teaching them the nuances, if you like, and the differences in how we fly the Hawk as a Red Arrows display pilot compared to how other units would fly the Hawk.
Yeah, that's quite a portfolio to have, and there are so many roles. But luckily, with 5 years behind you, I'm sure it just goes with the breeze. I'm sure you handle it effortlessly. Now, Steve, you pretty much got to the top of the tree. Well, certainly for all us general public looking at the Red Arrows, we think you are the best of the best. What sort of things do you consider moving on to after having done a job like that?
I love my job. I love being part of the Royal Air Force, and I really love flying jets. So for me, I've got the option. I've been asked to stay for an extra year, so next year will be my 7th year. So I've got another full year and a half effectively with the Red Arrows, and hopefully next season we're able to make up for what we've lost this season. With regards to what happens afterwards, I have been working towards my civilian licenses. Whether or not I'll join the civilian world, I don't know. I mean, it's a great career to have as a second career, but who knows what the fallout from the coronavirus is going to be and what the airline industry is going to look like. And I must admit, if the Air Force offer me a flying job, keep me tempted, and I'll stay in the Air Force.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't blame you. It could be a tricky time, I think, for the airline business and pilots in particular over the next year. Just one final question for you before we get on to our viewers' questions and the children's questions as well. When I was a kid, I didn't think for one moment I'd ever be a pilot. I just thought it was all going to be way, way too difficult and demanding and out of scope. What advice would you give to youngsters today if they were thinking of being a pilot, but maybe just haven't pressed the button or got in touch yet?
It's a very good question, and I think, George, you hit the nail on the head. Just like you, I knew I always wanted to be a pilot, but it's self-doubt. It's, what will I ever be able to do that? And the biggest bit of advice I can give is, literally, I don't wish to sound cheesy, but follow your dreams. It is hard work. There's a huge amount of sacrifice. There's no two ways about that, and everyone will tell you it all starts with education. So be fully committed at school with your learning. But then also, I joined the Air Cadets, and that was one of the best things I did. It opens up the opportunity to go flying in Royal Air Force aeroplanes. You go on summer camps. You do your Duke of Edinburgh award. So that really then spurred me on that little bit extra. And there might be knockbacks along the way. I didn't get into the Air Force the first time I applied at the age of 18. And I was devastated. There's no two ways about that. But you dish yourself off. You take back that constructive feedback. You get better, and keep trying. And eventually, the hard work will definitely pay off.
Well, wise words. Thank you very much. And a good opportunity now to catch up with the very children and some mums and dads as well, who've very kindly logged in with lots of questions for you. Unsurprisingly, you are probably the most popular pilot this afternoon. First up is a question from Carrie from Swansea.
I always wondered, how did you make the blue and red smoke come out of your aeroplanes?
Okay, thank you for your question. So if you've ever seen a Red Arrows aeroplane, one of the differences you'll see to a standard Hawk is that underneath the fuselage of the jet in the middle is what is a smoke pod. And in there it's got 3 sections. So it has a section for white, and then a section for red, and a section for blue smoke. Now, the way we go about making the smoke appear from the back of the aeroplane is that it's effectively diesel. So diesel that doesn't have any dye in it at all goes down some pipes and then comes out the back right next to where the rear of the jet engine is. So the white smoke is just pure diesel, and then the red and the blue is some special dye that we have. Are actually specialist engineers. There's only a certain number of engineers on the Red Arrows that are qualified to refill each section of the smoke pod. So they'll put in the dye and the right amount of dye to make sure that we get the blue and the red. And obviously, it's very important that they put them in the right compartment of that smoke pod.